And it's Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which means it's time for Quick Fix Golf. And tonight we have a great guest and his new book, Break Free from Suckville. This is perfect for you, Darren.
Yeah, I've been living in Suckville for a long time. I've finally gotten out of it. So,
Well, tell him what you want him to do so you get out of Suckville.
Yeah, here's how you're going to get out of Suckville. Is you just need to get your cell phone out and take a video of your golf swing and send it to us. And it's the best money that you're going to spend because it's free. And send it to quick service at quickfixgolf.com. You can load it up on our website at quickfixgolf.com. We'll give you some drills. We want you to play better golf now. So not a penny out of your pocket. You owe it to yourself. Why not do it? Get out of Suckville.
And very shortly, you're going to see a pop-up come up on our site for a chance to win a Phil Mickelson lob wedge.
Oh.
The PM grind, as you can see, the score lines go all the way across the face, which what he likes to have. Is, it's typically you see the toe of the golf club not having any score lines, but he uses the toe as do I, a lot on wedge shots. So he has and so you have a chance to win one of those. We're going to give one away every month, once a month.
Yep.
Tonight, we have a great guest, licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Bhrett McCabe. He's back here for the second time because he's got a new book. And I've read the download that he gave us, which is offering everybody a chance to have one chapter, which was his favorite chapter about Mark Warner. Is it Mark Warner?
Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, that's it.
Yeah.
I like him because he worked in the grocery store and everything else. He'll tell us all about it. And he's trusted by over the best players on tour to look for his guidance. But so much of this game is in your mind. Doctor, welcome to Quick Fix Golf. Glad to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I was so excited to come back on the show. And I couldn't make it home from a couple meetings today and working with some athletes. So sorry I don't have the video. But, I don't have a face for TV. So we're just going to roll with the radio side here.
None of us do.
I'll try not to get into my own little subject.
None of us do.
Exactly.
That's why we're doing this on the internet.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's just a pleasure to have you.
Yep.
We've got a couple questions for you.
Let's rock. Let's do it, and I'll tell you about the book.
Why don't you ask the questions?
Yeah. Why did you write Suckville, and what exactly is Suckville?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I work with athletes across the board, and whether it's, baseball, basketball, football, and golf, I'm mostly known for a lot of the work I do with my professional golfers. But the vast majority of people who come in to see me, and I'll see somewhere between 45 to 60 clients a week, and it's all athletic related. And they all seem to come in and start with me because they're in this place where they're frustrated, they're broken down, the game is not fun anymore. And it's like everything that they do just can't seem to get the result that they want. And what I started doing was when I started talking to players, I would look at their data and I would look at their play and I'd be like, well, it's not that bad. They're like, no. This sucks. Like, I hate this. What I found was it was a perception that they were stuck between this place, what they thought they should be. Hey, listen, I've done a lot of practice. I've been out on the range for hours. I've worked on a new swing. Why am I still struggling? Versus where their reality is, which was really, it wasn't that bad. It was just that their expectations were out of gap or out of whack. And so that space between your reality and your potential is what I started calling Suckville. And what happened was I was working with a player who's on the Corn Ferry Tour, and he looked at me one day and said, Doc, I'm the mayor of Suckville. He said, I just beat myself up every day, and I never see what I do good. And that becomes a learned behavior to just continually see the bad things. If the three of us were sitting in a 19th hole, and we walked around and asked, hey, how did you play today? Most people would go, not very good. Very few people, except for the guy or lady who's won the money, goes, that was great. So what happens is we think unless we play the best round of our life, we're falling short of our potential. Well, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. And the problem with that is that you never allow growth to happen. Instead, you start digging yourself your own hole. And that hole you just get deeper and deeper into until the point is the game just starts punishing you. And I got tired of seeing people in that position when really it was something that we could correct and overcome.
Right. And we had you on just about 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And one of the things you had commented on was, if you come to me, I'm not going to say or promise I'm going to help you shoot 60, at least when it comes to golf, but I'm going to help you shoot 68 more often and become more consistent at that level. And that's kind of what you're saying here. Am I wrong?
Absolutely. So if we look at, let's think about this. If I said that you're going to have your A game, your best game of the year, your best quality, that freedom of swing, reading every putt, maybe 5 to 10% of the time. Well, why do we teach and why do we see that as our standard? It's not our standard. It's an outlier. And my whole thing when I work with my tour players is like, look, you can't win every event. We know that. Okay. I want you to, but it's really hard to. And what I want you to do is learn to get the most out of what you have available. And if that means employing a B game, if that and understanding what that is, or even a C game and being okay with it, instead of being out on the course and getting mad and frustrated and trying to chase swing, try to get that feel back, all that stuff that just really causes problems. Because if my player's B game or C game is better than most players' A game, they're gonna make a lot of money. And I think that's why my players seem to have success, is that I get them accepting mediocrity a lot better. Look, it's not hard for me to coach a player who's going to go out and shoot 61. That's just what they're capable of. And those days happen. A lot of good bounces, a lot of good breaks. What I want to see is a player who, is kind of scrapping a little bit, but was able to pull it together and shoot 68 because he got the most out of her. She got the most out of her round, and keeps them in a tournament long enough, just like Sun JM, who's not a client of mine, but Sun JM, who hung around this week. And then all of a sudden Sunday came on, and lo and behold, his A game showed up, and watch out. But he didn't have his A game on Thursday or Friday, or maybe even Saturday, but he sure as heck had it on Sunday.
Why do we lose the love or the joy of the game?
We lose the love, the joy, because the game is hard. Look, bad golf is not fun golf. And when we focus on all the negatives and we focus on the frustrations and what we're falling short, there's no redeeming qualities in the game. When we all first started playing the game and even started competing, we were all caught up in learning new skills and enjoyment of the game. It was, oh man, I broke 80 for the first time. I broke 75. I broke 90. I made a couple birdies and made birdies back to back. And it was like achievement was fun. But then eventually achievement became kind of like, I'm expecting this. Like, I expect to shoot a good score every time I go out there. And over time, if you get in a bad run or the game turns against you or you're just in a tough spot, all of a sudden the burden of having to live up to those expectations wears you down. And it's amazing. I've had players who have sat in my office who are Heisman Trophy finalists. I've had players that have sat in my office that are All-Americans, who are winning millions of dollars a year, who are under multi-million-dollar contracts, who say, the game just doesn't love me and I don't love the game anymore. And what you have to do is reset their mindset, because they do love the game. They love the challenge, but what they don't love is how the game makes them feel or what they're chasing. So we love to go play golf. I'm going on a golf trip tomorrow, and I'll be gone for a couple of days playing some great courses. And I can't wait to go. And I hope when I leave on Sunday that I had a really good run and I put some cash in my pocket out of my buddy's wallet. However, there's a chance I'll go down there and not play well. And, I'm the same guy who teaches about emotion. And our last golf trip, somehow my driver hit the backside of the handle hit the backside of a tee marker, and I broke it. Just a fluke accident of swinging it, and it hit the tee marker. I'm joking. But all of a sudden, the game isn't fun. It's hard. And struggling is not fun. But what gets us back to enjoying the game is finding what we enjoy about it, not a result, but something in it, some challenge, some experience, something that sparks our interest in the game is what helps.
Darren?
Yeah, I mean that goes right into how do we pick ourselves back up, when we're
Yeah.
down. I mean it's right.
Well, yeah, so one of the things that I try to work with on all my players, and it's so funny how we forget to do this, right? We'll chase a new swing, we'll chase a new driver, get a new putter in our bag, and we'll forget to have a clear intention into every shot. And it's funny how we do that. And we focus on so many other things. And if you ask players where they wanted to hit that shot, they're like, yeah, I didn't even really think about that. And so what I try to do is change the game a little bit by creating some more challenging, more fun shots, right? Like, why are we trying to hit the ball so straight? Why are we trying to repeat the same swing over and over again? The brain's not even built to hit the same shot over and over again. It's built to be adaptable and variable. We can't really hit the ball straight. And if we do, it's almost usually by accident. There's usually a curve. So why don't we get creative and hit different shots and see the challenges of the game? Golf is like an obstacle course. It's not a drag race. It's an obstacle course where you're moving right along and you feel good, and all of a sudden there's a trap door and it gets you. And if you can change your mindset over it, instead of being it as a validation place, like a test track or a drag race, and instead an unknowing uncertainty of a competition that you're about to face, it changes the fun of it. And it kind of puts you back into that environment of, all right, I have no idea what today's going to hold, but I'm going to go play. I'm going to go give it the best I got. I don't know why we anchor ourselves to certain scores when we don't even know what the score capabilities are that day.
You know, that's one of the things that I sort of miss of the old days, being an old timer like I am, is that like a guy like Sneed would get on the range, and if he was hitting it left to right, he played left to right that day. If he was hitting it right to left, he played right to left that day. And you know, they worked their way around the golf course. Today it's like hit it 350. They don't care if they're in the rough as long as they got a wedge in their hand. They don't care. It's not as strategic as it used to be, the old game.
Well, the game has changed, but what's interesting is, you know, and I work with a ton of teachers. I'll be out in California next week giving a talk for teachers. But we have to be careful not to teach to the A game, the perfect optimal conditions. Every other sport teaches to the uncertainty of the game and the difficulty of the game. But what happens is a lot of times that we teach with the box or the flight scope or, you know, all those other things, and we're like, oh boy, that's maxed out, that's perfect. And then we expect the player to take that game out on the course. Hey, there is nothing that you can do to transfer your practice game to the on the course game. They're not the same thing. They're not the same environment. They're not the same challenges. So let's take tools. Let's not take a game. Let's not take a swing. Let's take our tools. And the tools we have is we know how to hit golf shots. But I'm always amazed when I started baseball games as a pitcher, I didn't come out of the gate trying to throw my max fastball on the absolute black at knee-high level because I didn't have a feel for the game. So why do we get on the first tee and think I need to hit this phenomenal shot dimed up on the driver? And when you got more tension, more stress, more speed than you had on the range. So I want all my players to show up on the first tee with a ball that they know they can get in play. Doesn't mean that they're backing off of it. It just means this is my 85% swing or my 85% driver. I know 85% of the time where it's going. And we increase and we work ourselves into the round. That still makes it a birdie hole. You just may be birding it from 110 out instead of 105. But at least you know where it is and you start building momentum.
Good point. Darren?
What are some of the things that drive our minds? What are we like? Our DNA? What are we wired to be thinking all the time?
Well, you know, we're all accomplishment-based people, right? But at the core of it all, our brain's main job is to keep us alive and to identify threat. And so think about the number of threats we have on the golf course. It's not that we have bears or, you know, saber-toothed tigers. What we have is our ego. And so while we want accomplishment and it drives us, and a certain component of the brain is loves accomplishment, we get caught up on the protection and we get caught up on how we feel. And do we feel good? Do we feel comfortable? Are we dialed in? Or is the swing in the slot? Do I feel balanced? And anything that's off kind of triggers the brain to go into a threat mode and a threat protection mode. And so that's why people struggle. And most players play with a preventative mindset. Don't miss it here. Don't miss it there. Don't want to go in the water. Don't want to do that. And what happens is it just overtakes your mind instead of playing purposeful. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to hit it in the water and have to take a drop. Like, that's the worst thing. Or you're going to lead a tournament and lose it. Like, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. If that's the worst thing that can happen and you can accept that, doesn't mean you like it, but you can accept it, then let's just go all in on what we want to accomplish. Now, it doesn't mean, you know, trying to feather a 3-wood onto an island green. What that means is let's play smart strategic golf that maximizes our strengths to achieve and build momentum. The game is hard. You know, we know from, you know, looking at statistics, and one of my favorite followers on Twitter is Lou Stagner. And he puts up a tremendous amount of stats up on the PGA Tour because of their data's availability is so good. We have such unrealistic expectations of what good play is. And we think that the players that we see on tour are doing it day in and day out. They, I hear players tell me all the time, and parents and kids, like, Tiger did this, Tiger did that. Tiger's the greatest outlier we've ever seen in sports. He wanted a clip that was so much greater than anybody else in his field, his generation, and across a level playing field. There's nobody that ever will be like him again, and they'll know. But he was the greatest outlier ever. He's not the standard. He is unachievable. We can just try to be the best version. I mean, we look at somebody like John Rahm, who's a client of mine, or Dustin Johnson, who are number 1 and number 2 in the world, and their separation from where Tiger was at his heyday, and his separation from the rest of the world ranking points, it dwarfs it. And so we have to go back to enjoying the challenge of the game and getting the most out of what we have, as opposed to just anchoring ourselves to this unrealistic, unattainable potential that we will never reach. We will never reach our potential, because every time we do something good, we just change the definition of what our potential is.
Have you witnessed any results with hypnosis?
Actually, I used some version of hypnosis when I was pitching, and it helped me a lot. I look at hypnosis as a deep relaxation and kind of tapping into a visualization center. I think it's fascinating. I think, anytime that we do repetition in the brain and repetition in the mind, we're recreating a positive action. I think it's also allows you to focus and relax. Is hypnosis? I'm not I wouldn't be the best to say yes or no. I mean, from a research standpoint, hypnosis is very tough to measure and make, widespread claims. But could it help people get into deep relaxation and visualization? It did for me when I was pitching.
I did a show with a guy named Dr. Patrick Porter, and I never seen people laugh so hard in their entire life. He took one guy under hypnosis, he says, "You're playing in the Masters, and your ball's off in the right woods, and you got to find it right now. You'll get a 2-stroke penalty. You're going to lose the tournament." And that guy looked under every table in that.
It's funny. I love going to those comedy shows. I don't understand it. I don't understand the mechanism of it. I'm fascinated with it. I think it's funny. I think it's fun. Are there some elements to it? Sure. Here's also one of the biggest things, right? If a player tells me that they like to lick their lips and wiggle their toes before they hit a shot, I'll just say, just get a lot of chapstick, because you better lick your lips a lot. If you believe, I'm from the baseball world.
Yeah.
We live with a lot of superstitions, and, I didn't change my hat during the course of a year. And if I needed to change something up, I would change my socks or something like that. But I warmed up the same every day. I ate the same thing before I played every day. I, would go into the bullpen the same way every day. I would run out on the field, stepping across the line the same way every time. If I believed it worked, that's all that matters.
Yeah, no place kickers that wouldn't step on the line.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, it's a sense of control over the anxiety we have. We can't predict anything that's going to happen. We can't predict how we're going to play today. We can't predict how we're going to hit a shot. We may have higher belief or trust in something, but we don't know. So if I can exert something that helps me feel that way, then I'm great. And, I think people do it all the time. Like I said, I come from the baseball world. People have their own little idiosyncratic ways of doing things. Rock on. Let's keep going. It works. Let's have fun. But let's play the game. I want people to go out and play this weekend who are listening to this and look at the game that's in front of them as a puzzle. It's solve the puzzle that day. Don't try to say, well, I did this 3 weeks ago. There are so many variables that are out of your control that you can do everything right and shoot 6 shots worse and actually hit the ball better. It's just the craziness of the game. And I think that's why, Arnold Palmer had his great quote is it's, essentially in summary, right? It's the greatest game because it's glorious in one moment and maddening in the other.
Well, Darren, last but not least.
Yeah, so we appreciate your time. But one last question. What is the funnel of focus, Doc? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the funnel of focus is a concept I came up with a couple of years ago because I started noticing that players were stepping into shots with a really clouded, mentality. And so I used a funnel approach to kind of say, look, before you step into a shot, your mind can be all over the place. You're walking down the fairway, riding in the cart, listening to music. I'm cool. Like let your mind wander. But eventually a thought of intention has to come into your consciousness. And we want it to be one that we pick, right? And so if you think about your focus like a funnel, it starts wide and it narrows down as you get close to the shot. You know, your first step is kind of like, what's going on? What's my awareness? What's my strategy? And then it starts getting more narrow and you visualize and you go to a result, execution and a result. But unfortunately, that's the ideal. The reality is most of us have our funnel backwards. We stand behind a ball and all of a sudden we don't like the way we're swinging it. We don't like the way it feels. We don't want to make another mistake. We don't want to leave it short. And now our funnel locks onto that negative. And all of our attention and focus is to prevent the negative from happening. And by the time we get over the ball, the wide part of the funnel is now where our execution phase is. So we've got 3 swing thoughts going back, 2 coming down, 1 over the side, making sure that we're not, and our mind is cluttered. Our minds work, you know, kind of in a rudimentary kind of way, like a computer. You put garbage in it, it's going to produce garbage on the outside. If you put good quality info into it, good quality data into it, and a good quality command, it'll increase the odds of you having a good result. And so the funnel is to think about is before you hit a shot, just let your mind go free for a few minutes, take a few seconds, take a deep breath. All right, now what do I want to do here? And I even have my tour players verbalize every shot they're going to hit. And even my amateurs, my players who play without caddies, like in the Corn Ferry right now or in the qualifying school, I'll have them talk out loud. Hey, all right, see that tree down there? I'm going to hit it at that tree and draw it off of it. Perfect. Let's go. Because that verbalization allows the funnel to get upright and allows it to get narrow as it gets to the intentional stance. And then we're allowed to get after it from there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well said. So how can people get in touch with you and buy your books? And I use the word books because the Mindside Manifesto, it was a huge game changer for me. So
Well, I appreciate that.
What can people do?
Well, it's been 5 years in the making, this book. And it's something I've been kind of kicking around for some time. And if you did read the manifesto, you know that I'm not short-winded and I do go into depth on things. And some people call it a critical aspect of it, or maybe a problem, but I like to write. The Suckville book comes out next Monday. And if you go on my website, BhrettMcCabe.com, you can download a copy. There's a rumor it's available on Amazon right now, and you can buy it ahead of time if you want. I think it even may be up as a Kindle. But you can go get a free chapter of it, and you can read it. It's about Kurt Warner, NFL Hall of Famer. I tried to incorporate some stories. I tried to incorporate some ideas about how to change your mindset, how to change your environment, and how to change your process so that we don't stay stuck in Suckville. And instead, we start to break free and start recreating. So if you go to my social media pages at Dr. Bhrett McCabe or my website, pick up a copy. If you don't like it, let me know, and I'll make it right for you. But if you do like it, please tell your friends and leave me a review.
Yeah, I read the chapter that you offered, a free chapter about Warner, and I knew a
Yeah.
little bit about the fact that he worked at a grocery store to try and support himself while he was trying to make it in the NFL. But what a great story! The guy that hung in there no matter what,
It is. And,
and a
here's
nice
the
guy
deal,
to
right?
boot.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the deal, right? How many disappointments did he have? How many points did he have of, how much longer am I going to have to do this? You know, I'm sure there were times that he thought this sucks or I suck or, is this even worth it? And for some reason, he never quit. And was it serendipitous, to be in the right place at the right time and have Trent Green get hurt? Maybe. But if he wasn't continuing to fight forward, he would have never been in that situation. And, I think you have to understand that within the aspect of success, there is a lot of sucking that goes on. I mean, you will suck it a lot of times, but you've got to push through that Suckville mentality and that state of mind of feeling sorry for yourself. Instead, stay on to what you want and to keep competing and try to get to the end, and you can have success.
So BhrettMcCabe.com, so and it's BHRETT and MCCABE, and they can purchase the book there then.
They can. And, like I said, download the free copy, the first chapter. That way you'll see if you like my writing style or not. And I hope you do. I really do think, I really, really think this book can help people. And I wrote it in a way so that if a player is struggling at any sport and their coach is like, here's a book to break free. It's not about platitudes. It's not about breathe through your eyelids. It's not about anything like that. It's like, here's some real talk about what it takes to have success. And we are going to struggle. If it wasn't for me struggling at LSU pitching, I wouldn't be a psychologist today. So there is always the silver lining in the problems that we have.
And LSU is struggling now.
Yeah, they're going to be making
Well,
a change there.
Doc's more in the Alabama ballpark right now.
Well,
we're
I still love my LSU Tigers.
I know. Yeah.
But I roll Tide now.
Let's
roll
roll
Tide now because I
Tide.
know the
Roll Tide.
Yep.
Roll
Nothing wrong with
Tide.
rolling Tide. And but LSU is going to be making a change. And I think you look at things and people play their the good, the bad, and the ugly happen, and they had a magical year that year, but you got to do things to stay ahead of the curve, and you got to be in development. That's what makes Nick Saban the best there ever is. My coach was the best baseball coach ever. I worked for the best college football coach ever. So I've worked with the two best in their sport in college. They both had very clear processes and systems that were based on doing the little things right, not getting caught up in the outcome. And that's what we can do in our game too.